Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I am your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout out my last week's episode 130 with Shaylin Fisk. She is working to become a special education teacher. And on that episode, she kind of talked about her relationship with her father, dealing with alcoholism and addiction. And it was actually a really powerful episode to have someone be so vulnerable and honest about what they were going through. And anyone who has dealt with people or family members or friends that have suffered from alcoholism or any types of addiction knows how difficult the relationships can be. So it was like a really powerful conversation to have. And I think anyone who hasn't listened to it should, because she worked up a lot of courage to actually have that conversation with me. And I really appreciated her doing that. So I would be really grateful if you guys go check that out at thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, you can search it on YouTube at The Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest on the podcast, shoot me an Instagram DM at The Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll, or shoot me a text, Snapchat, however you want to contact me, and we'll set that up. So for today's episode 131, bringing in a double guest. So I haven't done a double guest in a minute. So Bobby Labossiere, Neil Fisher. What's up, boys?
What's going on?
How's it going?
Appreciate you guys doing this podcast. And like I told you, we just kind of who you are and what you're doing currently to start it off. So we'll start with Bobby.
So right now I'm living in Warwick, Rhode Island. I have a fiance, I have a dog, and a cat. Just working every day, 40 hours a week. I work at a liquor store and I'm the manager. And just paying the bills, trying to figure it out one step at a time. Trying to find a house, but just getting through right now.
I feel you on that. Housing market is absolute shit.
Sure.
Been going through that problem myself. Neil?
What's going on, Jared? Neil Fisher. I grew up in Seekonk, Mass. Currently living in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. I've been there probably about a year in March. Work at the Postal Service in Seekonk, East Providence. East Providence is the same post office. So I got my own route. I got my own route down near the Red Bridge. Got a girlfriend, Brianna. Been dating for a year and a half now. Taking things slow, happy together. And
It's good to hear that. It's good to hear that. And both of you, that you guys are progressing in life and doing things the right way. And I think that's always a positive thing. And it's good for people to kind of hear your background a little bit and just know that. And we'll dive into both of those later in the podcast. The beginning of the podcast, I always like to talk about family dynamic. And for the listeners, I always like to explain why, because family dynamic is kind of the base root of everything. Yep. It's where we come from, and we're on this podcast, we're talking about your life. So I like to talk about all these different things, and especially this is the foundation piece. So we build the foundation first, and everything comes on top of that. So like I said to both of you, prior to the podcast, whatever you're comfortable with sharing with family dynamic, we'll do that. So I'll let Bobby go first and talk a little bit about his family.
Yeah, so I obviously grew up in Seekonk, Mass. I have a sister and a brother. I'm the oldest of the three. My mom and dad were together through my whole childhood, but I'd say about halfway through, maybe when I was a freshman in high school, kind of knew they weren't really together anymore, but they were sticking out just because they didn't want us three kids to have to leave the school system we were in. They firmly believed that we should stay in Seekonk until we all graduated. So, that was interesting to see. My dad's side of the family, I have barely any connection to at all, because his side of the family was not the greatest, from what he told me at least. So I never really met them. I only met his sister and her daughter and two sons, I think. But I met him only once. I really don't know him that well. My mom's side of the family, I know very well. They're that's my family. I know all of them. I don't hang out with them very often. I know some people's cousins are very close to each other and stuff like that, but not so much. I only see them Christmas, just the big holidays, major holidays. And now my dad, my parents did divorce once we were all finished with school. My dad lives in North Carolina right now, and my mom lives in Warwick, very close to me, like 10 minutes up the road. My brother is in the he's in the Navy, and he's in Oklahoma City, so he's far away, which is tough. And then my sister lives in Pawtucket, so she's right up the road too. So kind of scattered a little bit, but still all keep in touch pretty well.
Yeah, and that part's good. And I think having siblings is always nice if your parents have multiple kids, because like those are your first friends. Yeah. And like my brothers, like our relationship growing up was always a little difficult, like just like boys being boys, just fighting and shit like that. But as you get older, I can look back and like acknowledge like it was nice having siblings that I could rely on, like just to play and like do sports with. And that's really where those relationships like kind of really start. And we'll dive into the friendship aspect and sports and stuff a little bit later in the podcast. But I want to kind of ask, and obviously if you're not comfortable answering the question, how are your like emotions during that process of their parents, like leading up to the divorce? Like, did it affect you like during high school and stuff like that?
For me, not so much, because I kind of could tell, and that's, for me personally, that's their relationship, and their relationship doesn't directly affect me, if that makes sense. Like, I get that they would like have their issues and stuff, but it wouldn't affect me because I knew they both loved me, no matter what they had going on between themselves. I can't speak for my siblings, but for me, that was okay. I just knew that if they were having an issue and my siblings were having issues as well at the same time, my parents maybe weren't able to take care of them, I would take care of my younger siblings. And I know you might get that being the oldest. Sometimes you kind of have to step into that parental role at a younger age than you would like to, because that's just being the oldest, you got to do it. And that definitely helped. I think it helped me because now, you know, I have a dog, I have a cat, I have a fiance, and we want to have kids one day. And I think that really like prepped me for when that portion of my life happens. I'll be ready to take that role on for sure.
But yeah, being an older sibling, messing with the mics, man. Too funny. Sorry, technical difficulty for there. So if anyone sees that overlap, but hello? Yeah, you're good, Neil. Yeah, Neil has a problem with speaking up for the people that are listening or watching.
Yep. Yeah.
And maybe we'll discuss that later in the podcast. But being that older sibling, like having those responsibilities is like something that I had to kind of like learn, as like my siblings look up to me. And I do have an older brother. He's like a half brother. So, but he's my brother, but he didn't grow up with us. He'd come on the weekends and stuff. So like, at least in the household for the most time, like my brother's looking up to me. Like I'm going through the process of getting the car first. I'm the one getting the job first. I'm the one graduating high school first. Like I had all the first types things. So there is a responsibility with that. Yeah. And I think it's nice to be in that position too, because like it helps prepare you for things later in life. Like whether it's playing sports, being in those leadership positions, is like I was like a captain, and like I had that like kind of like ability to be leaned on by other people. So like that was always something that I kind of learned through the relationships with my siblings. So I think that's always like super important. But we'll pass it to Neil to talk about his family dynamic, and obviously whatever you're comfortable with.
Yep. So I lived in Seekonk pretty much my whole life. Like was born in Providence, obviously, but my parents, when they first got married, they built a house in Rehoboth, right near Crestwood. Then they got divorced, so they had to sell the house, obviously. And they got back together, and I moved to Seekonk when I was about 4. They were together for like, I think 19, 20 years, something like that. But I was born in 97, but they married in 91. So when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 9, they divorced. So that was kind of big for me, having my dad out of the house. So he moved back in my grandparents. So I was in 3 or 4 different houses in Seekonk. So I lived on County Street, near the Speedway. So when they got divorced when I was in Seekonk. Then I moved out of that house with my mom to another house near Luther's Corner. I was there for about, I don't know, till I was like in 8th grade. Then my mom had to move out of there, but she was going to move to Bridgewater. So I want my dad and my mom both agreed they wanted me to stay in the same school system. So I moved. I don't know how that all went down, but that's what I assumed. So my dad moved to Seekonk, and he met Maureen, which is my stepmom now, and they've been together since I was in 8th grade. And I was, no brothers or sisters when I was with my parents. I was obviously I was an only child. So Maureen had my stepsister Jen. She's like 10 years older than me, and same thing with my stepbrother Jeff. And they never lived with me. So I lived there. I lived with Maureen, my dad, until I was I don't know, 18. I graduated high school. I had a couple of jobs. So then I don't know.
I do want to ask you though. I want to take a little segue with it, kind of similar to the question with Bobby, but a little bit different. Being an only child, did you find it kind of difficult to manage like emotions dealing with your parents separating? Because obviously, part of the reason I asked these questions about family dynamic is so I could get a better understanding of what it's like. Because like I've interviewed people who are with their parents are still together to this day, like my parents are, and I'm blessed to have that still. And I've talked to people who were raised with their grandparents, who have been raised with their mom, their dad, like all different types of family dynamics. And I think it's always important to know that, because a lot of the stuff that we learn from our parents and like our like close family basically translates to later in life. The relationships that we form and shit like that stems from our relationships early on when we're like children, basically. But I kind of want to know, and if you're not comfortable answering, obviously you don't have to answer.
Yeah.
Maybe was it difficult trying to like figure out your emotions with your parents separating, being an only child, like kind of different from Bobby's situation where he has the siblings to kind of rely on that in that situation? Did you ever have that or?
Well, it was definitely tough with my dad, because my dad, dad was big for me when I was little, but it was a blessing that they get divorced, because it wasn't pretty at all. They would argue all the time. It would be sleepless nights, alcohol involved, but thankfully they're not drinking anymore. So when my dad moved out, that was tough on me. So it was just me and my mom until I was like, like I said, 13. But yeah.
Is that point where you're at that age where it's easy, like you're more consciously aware of the friendships that you're forming. So I would imagine probably having friends and playing sports and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Where that's
sports
where it became.
Sports was a big thing for me, especially like, baseball, football. After school, and then I go to practice. That helped me out a lot. Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up, because I know the relationship that you have with your grandfather is really special. And I've seen you like post stuff on social media and talk about that, and just privately that we've talked about that. Kind of want to give you the chance to kind of talk about that relationship and what that kind of really meant to you.
Yep. Yeah. My grandfather was huge to me. So when my dad would always work, and he would drop me off at his house, and my grandparents would watch me, and I don't know what my parents would be doing, but they would watch me, bring me up. I would go to because they used to own Fisher's Feeds near KP Diner over there. So I'd go to the corner over there. My dad would run that. I'd go there with him. They'd bring me back to his house. It was he was big for me, but losing him, it really hurt.
Yeah, and like when I lost my grandfather back in 2020, that was like pretty devastating loss, especially being like, it's like my paternal grandfather. So it's like the Carroll, like there's like it's like a really special meaning for that. And having him, he'd been on my podcast. He was episode 2. So like that episode was like super meaningful to me. And like, I can understand like the importance of a grandfather and like the special relationship that you can have, and being able to have conversations that probably go a little bit deeper in that. It's a really special bond, and you don't really get to appreciate it as much as we should when we're younger until we're a little bit older. Yeah,
I learned a lot from him, like life lessons, just how to be a man. And, he told me a lot of good things, and I miss him a lot. Think about him a lot. I go to his grave sometimes, visit him. But when he passed, it was definitely, he was struggling, And at the end, he didn't, recognize me. Like he had I don't know what it's called, Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's,
yeah. So he wouldn't recognize me. So at the end, he would be at home most of the time. My dad, my uncle to watch them, and I'd go over there, to relieve my parents because, my dad would go to work, 7 a.m., go to the, my grandparents' house, make sure everything's all set for the day. You go to work, come back, stay there till like 7 until like one of the nurses at night would sleep over. And, well, during the day, there was obviously a nurse there, tell my grandmother out. So I'd go there like on the weekends, help him out, he can go out, get out of there. I'd watch him. But at the night, he wouldn't know who I am. He'd be yelling, screaming at me, who the F are you? Stop hurting me. And it was tough. And the last 3 months, he went to the Rhode Island Veterans Home, and yeah, I don't know.
It gets pretty fast with Alzheimer's. My great grandmother had Alzheimer's, and just like always having to reintroduce myself, and like it's like, oh, I haven't seen you guys in years, and like it was at a young age, it was tough to continue to do. So like I can definitely relate to that, and I appreciate you opening up about that and actually talking about that, because I don't think a lot of people get that side of you too, to hear that, and like maybe a lot of people don't even ask too, which I think that's part of the reason I do the podcast, is to like dig a little bit deeper than those surface level conversations that we might have at fucking like Dublin Rose and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So like,
and trust me, like I didn't mind at all watching him. I'll do anything for my family, but that's not the kind of shit I want to remember him by. Is like, yelling at me, screaming at me. I want to remember him by like, going to his house and, stealing his fucking goldfish and, getting all pissed off with my goldfish. All right here, Pops, how you doing? And, going to the corner and watching the trucks go by, fucking blowing the horn and shit. I don't remember, wiping his ass and fucking,
yeah, all the later in life, the elderly stuff that you have to deal with, especially, that's always like a difficult thing. But it's also, if you're able to, in hindsight now, kind of like appreciate that they're able to live to that age too. Like that's something that's like, as we've kind of gone through, we've lost a lot of people that we've gone to school with. And it's like, in moments like that, it's like, I'm able to really appreciate, it's like, we forget as people how short time is.
It's awful. Yeah.
And when stuff like that happens, you lose a grandparent and you're able to see how long of a life they lived. And like, for me to have the conversation with my grandfather on the podcast, and he was diagnosed.
That was awesome.
Yeah. To have that saved for the rest of my life. And like, if I'm ever lucky enough to have kids, to be able to share that, like, this is what my grandfather was like. This is what your great grandfather was like. And he was like recently diagnosed with brain cancer at that point. So like, it was like a really vulnerable conversation. So being able to have that. Yeah, cancer's cancer sucks. Fuck cancer. Yep. We'll do a little bit of a transition. Yeah. That's going to be like the thing. Yeah. Maybe I'll just title the episode.
I got to lighten up here. I'm getting nervous, but
now you're good.
Fuck off. Jesus Christ. Spit it out, fish.
This is the early stuff. So like this is everyone. I always tell everyone the first like 10, 15 minutes of a podcast is always like a little tougher, because it's like
big time. Yeah. Drenched, dripping over.
Yeah. But that's like, I try to warm it up with the pre-show basically, but
that was great.
Yeah, it's just great. I mean, as soon as lights, camera, action, it definitely we open up like with the hardest stuff basically.
Yeah.
Like talking about your family and your life is not easy, and like, but I have the reason.
And I got to speak louder into the mic, yeah.
I've had to adjust the volume a little bit. I'll have to see this when I go and edit this, guys. I'm sorry. But we'll transition to the sports aspect, because usually where people make a lot of friends, and even the relationships that we have are formed through sports. And I know you guys got really close through baseball specifically, if I'm correct,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that. I'll let Bobby go first, talk about the sports that he played.
So I played baseball and basketball from like as early on as I possibly could, all the way through high school. When did we meet?
Captain Bob.
Captain Bob. I was captain. Yep. Like you said, the oldest sibling thing works well. Helped me be a captain. When did we meet?
Middle school.
Middle school. It was like what? Third grade? Was it third grade? Fourth grade?
Middle school's
I'm sorry,
sixth grade, Bob.
Wow. No, it was third grade. Right?
Middle school, Bob.
Not middle school. It was middle school. Wow, man, I'm doing bad.
I went to Martin.
I'm doing bad, huh? It was middle school. Wow, at least you know. At least you know. So yeah, I've been playing baseball for a long time by that point. So we must have met on like at tryouts.
Probably, yeah.
For the middle school team, which got cut big time.
Yeah, Mar trying to hit ground balls. Thank God for TJ's stealth bat. That's the only way I made the team.
Thank God, Mr. Mar.
Mr. Mar, wow. No.
Yeah.
You're sweating like him now, huh?
He was a good coach.
Oh my God, yeah, dude. Jesus.
He was a good coach.
Leaking like a sickle, man. I'm getting better though. I'm
You're gonna loosen up now. We're
loosen
good.
up.
We're talking about the good stuff.
Like, what the hell's going on?
We're talking about the
I'm
good stuff now.
locked in, yeah.
You're a sports guy now. Come on now.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I got to Little League playing baseball, which baseball was my favorite sport, I in Little League wanted to pitch really bad. And when you're young in Little League,
Labossiere ball.
that's a good pitch.
No, we probably met in Little League.
Is that middle school? It's middle school, right?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
yeah,
no,
it
that's
is.
like
Little League's middle
No,
school.
that's senior. That's senior.
No,
league.
Little League's definitely middle school.
This is rough. Can't figure out when we met.
Yeah,
fuck.
whatever. Who gives a fuck? We met. Jeez.
We're here now.
Yeah, we're here now. But yeah, I wanted to pitch really bad, and I was one of the younger kids on the team, so you don't really get to pitch when you're one of the younger
It was
guys.
like BP.
It's like BP. It was. But it struck people out, though. Believe it or not, I don't know how.
This
I have
guy,
no idea
give him
how.
his turn.
I have no idea.
Didn't want
how.
to. You were so afraid to talk.
I'm trying to not get nervous.
I'm fucking with
I
you.
got him all riled up.
Tough listen at first.
Listen, man, this guy. Jeez.
Listen,
What is wrong with me?
I'm just loosening you up now. You're good to go. You're rocking.
fired up already.
Get
You
going.
good? All right. I'll keep, all right.
Wrap up.
So yeah, I wanted to pitch really bad, and my coach at the time finally let me pitch, even though I was young. He let me pitch, and I got out there. I was wearing a blue shirt, blue hat, and I had red socks on. Moron. It looked terrible. But I went out there and I did a pretty good job. I only knew how to throw a fastball at the time. Wasn't very fast. But I went out there and I did a pretty good job, and at that point I knew I really liked pitching, which is what I moved forward with the rest of my career, playing baseball all the way through high school. And I also played third base when I wasn't pitching, which I really liked. And yeah, I had the legendary Labossiere ball, which was like
And
the
he took
worst,
my number.
the worst curveball of all time. My favorite number is 41, and Fish's favorite number is 14. But unfortunately, numbers don't go that high for baseball players for the school jerseys. So I got to pick
I
first.
fucking take 14.
I took 14, and he still holds it against me to this day.
Too bad there's no 69. Okay, that's enough.
This guy.
Roll the fuck.
This is a family podcast, brother.
Thrown in every joke you got. I love it. So yeah, I continued to pitch. I got really good at pitching. I was always slow. I was never a fast pitcher, but I knew how to place the ball where it needed to be, which at that age in high school, if you throw it low and away on almost 90% of the batters, they cannot hit that ball. They want to pull it and they can't hit it. So that's why I did really good. I'd be throwing slow fastballs, but they couldn't hit it because where I put it. So that worked really well for me. I had one good year where I actually knew how to hit a baseball, which was my junior year.
Oh, yeah.
I did really good that year, but besides that, I really wasn't a good hitter, which was pretty frustrating for me, especially my senior year, being the captain of the team, supposed to be the leader, show everyone else, like, lead by example, and I just couldn't hit, which I felt like I was letting the team down. I did a pretty good job pitching. I was pretty good at fielding third base, so it was really good. That was all good, and I got to play with Fish the whole time, which
Yeah,
as
you
you
can-
can tell,
And you took
You can hop in and out. It's like talk about like some of the sports that you played and kind of talk about that relationship too. And
Right,
like,
yeah.
and I'll give you kind of like a softball here too to kind of like, I always love the clippable moments, but you can also talk about kind of like the lessons you've learned through sports and the value that, because I like part of the reason I like to talk about sports is because the relationships that you form
Yeah.
and like the friendships basically is usually formed through sports. So kind of giving you a softball with that too, of like some of the lessons and values that you learned through sports and the sports that you played.
Yeah, I played football, tried basketball. It didn't really work out for me. And I played baseball. I played football. Started third, fourth grade. Met Coach Archambault. Didn't like it anymore. I didn't like the Seacock Mile over there. And I stopped playing. I don't know why. And I picked it up again in eighth grade. Did all 4 years of high school baseball. Since I was in diapers, playing all the way through high school. Probably peaked my JV year because varsity, it was a good time, but didn't really hit that well. Just there for the fun, all my friends. But football, I really fell in love with. Just like what's better than Friday night game? What's better than though we got spanked all 4 years, for me, what's better than Thanksgiving game? Yeah, I mean, I can probably say like, football was probably one of my favorite sports in baseball, but the friends that I made out of football, all my best friends are on that team, I played with. And baseball, same, but I got Bob over here. Yeah.
Yeah, and how about like the value of like sports in general? Like, because you were talking off podcast too about how sports allow you to kind of take like not focus on all the shit that's going on in the world, but so like, what do like sports mean to you, kind of deal?
Everything. Even now, I don't watch the news, no politics, anything like that. I get home from work, I put on Sports Center, see what's going on, play video games, sports video games, everything to me. It's like a therapy. And, Giants, Bruins, Celtics, Red Sox.
Giants, but you worked at the Gillette Stadium.
Makes
So like,
sense.
and then you were a Patriots fan for like a week, and then we're like, we don't know if this guy's a Giants fan or a Patriots fan.
Tom Brady, you might. How you doing, Tom?
It meets Tom Brady, not even a freaking...
The meat riding is crazy
Patriots
right
fan.
now.
It's crazy.
The meat riding. You heard what I'm saying. Not talking about the food fish. Come on now. Sorry, I had to take a shot. I have to loosen you up because tough listen.
Tough listen. Huh? Jesus Christ.
I see why you dragged Bobby into this.
Imagine.
Okay, I'm glad that I've been trying to get you on this podcast for so long.
You.
So like,
I told you when the fucking cameras comes on, man, I shut right down.
well, I like it.
I can't stand talking about.
You're one of the funniest people that I know.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I wanted you to get on because like people don't see like the serious side too, and like I know it's a tough thing to like do in front of cameras and stuff, but like I like that you're here and you're able to like do it, even though you might be uncomfortable doing it and talking about that stuff, but like being present, I think that's like a huge kind of like step too, to even talk about stuff like your grandfather. Like that's an emotional thing for sure. And to showcase that on like a more serious note is important for people to see. And I think people will actually really get something from that.
Hopefully. Jesus, I don't know much out of me though.
I want
to figure it out over here.
I'll take a transition a little bit, talking a little bit about kind of getting up towards high school.
It's tough watch, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not. It's really not.
It really isn't, but
no, it's just a different dynamic too. With like,
I gotta change shirts and fucking.
You could do that. You got a free shirt, so you could do that later.
I don't want to disrespect it like that.
The dynamic though, with three people is definitely like it's something different. That it's just it's a different way to have a conversation on a podcast. And I've done a few of these, so it's always a new challenge to do something new with two new people and try to incorporate that where we're not taking away from each other. And I like having you guys here too, because like you could really see the friendship too, and like I think that was part of the reason that you wanted to do this with Bobby, and he's been someone that I've wanted on the podcast as well. So like it actually really works out well. The chemistry, the camaraderie that you guys built through sports definitely shows. As you're going through high school, getting up towards like that senior year, everyone's kind of favorite question looking at college, like why did you go to college, why not? So I'll let Bobby go first and talk about kind of like the route.
Tough one for me.
This is why we're going with Bobby first. So
it doesn't matter either way. I'm fucking still gonna. Oh, look at that shit.
Oh my god. So I only looked at one college, and it was Rhode Island College. I only looked at that one because I really didn't want to go to college that much, but I knew a bunch of guys from Seekonk who went to Rhode Island College and played baseball. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try and play baseball there, and it's close by. I'm going to go there, and they accepted me. So I was 1 for 1, which I always like to say. I was 100%, which is cool. Didn't make the team. Did not make the team. I was the first one cut my freshman year. So that was the end of baseball for me. But that's all right. It was for the best because it's a lot of time to play a sport in college compared to high school. So I'm definitely glad it ended when it did for me, playing with all my friends and stuff. So that was good. And I ultimately decided to go to college against not going because you got it to be successful in anything. And I started with accounting actually as my major because I heard you make good money, and I took my first accounting class and I said, nope, no shot. I can't. I saw like the columns and where you have to allocate money, the liabilities and all that stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this the rest of my life. And my accounting teacher didn't help at all. He was like the most monotone person like ever. So changed my major immediately to business management because it's more broad. So if I want to do accounting one day, I could, but I don't have to really. I can have a huge range of things that I can do involving business management, which worked great because once I graduated, I work at the Liquor Basket in Rehoboth, and I worked there part-time for a few years, and when I graduated, I got promoted full-time manager. So right away, went right into my degree, and that worked really well. And it was important for me to go to college because I thought about it, and I was like, I got to be able to support a family one day, and I have to have a good job, and a lot of jobs require that education. So ultimately, I did it, and it worked out because I also met my fiance at that college too, my junior year. So a lot of good things came from it that I weren't expecting to happen. Very, very grateful for how
Shout
that
out
worked
Jess.
out. Shout out Jess, for sure. That's a good shout out.
Now it's your turn, Fish. You want to be all funny.
Hey, he was pretty quiet for that one.
Yeah, I was actually
good.
glad.
That was good. I appreciate
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to. I'm just saying. Right when I graduated CConk, I went to BCC for about 2 years. Didn't get my degree. So I went there for 1 year. Did good, honor roll and all that. Then my second year, I went there. I broke my leg. Unfortunately, I had Teamworks.
Shout out flag football.
Facts.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, for me, yeah. Pass now. Well,
Different circumstances now. So
yeah, facts. Anyway, I went honor roll my first year. It's going good. My second year, when I broke my leg, it was just, tough for me to get rides there. I couldn't drive. Both my parents worked full time. My stepsister worked too. She would help me with the rides. So I ended up failing a class. That threw me behind. Then whole money situation. Before I get into it, those are all excuses, So don't listen to me at all. Excuses like assholes. Everyone has one, and they all stink.
That was great.
that's gonna be your clip.
That was from Fred Crippen right there. Anyway,
It ain't wrong. Though.
It ain't wrong though.
It ain't wrong. Like it's a solid.
Shout out to Crip. That's what I took away from his English class. Fish, where's your homework? I don't have it.
A+.
A+.
What sport did you play?
Passing out the JV stats. Fish, how many times you K'd?
I forgot about those.
Anyway, where was I? So I stopped going, but always working. When I was in high school. Yeah, I was in high school. I worked at Tito's Cantina, dishwashed, worked on the grill at 16 years old.
Is that even legal?
No, but I did it. I worked the line cook. I was set with that place, so I just texted him, I'm all done. Then I went to Hillside Country Club, cut grass, work weddings, worked in the pro shop. What a job. Like, I cannot wait to retire. Just to work back at a golf course to, free golf.
Big golf guy now?
Yeah. I was back then. I don't know why I don't play anymore. I got the clubs, everything. I loved it, though.
Were those the S10 days?
Yes. Yeah,
Wow.
S10, yeah. That was cash.
That's when you know it was the good days.
Yeah.
Enjoying that S10.
Yeah, no shit. But yeah, I worked at Hillside, and I coached at Seekonk High 3 years ago now.
How was that? Was that a cool experience? Like to be able to coach and go back a little bit and kind of experience it from a different perspective?
Because I was still younger, I was not just graduated, but people knew who I was. So they didn't really take me seriously, the kids and the students there that played. So I coached and gave them tips and all that, but it just wasn't for me. I loved it. Don't get me wrong. Where else would you rather be on a Friday night? But I mean, if it was next year, nobody knows me there. So if you ask me, I'll go coach again. But it was fun. But I coached there with Jimmy Lamoureux, and he helped me get in the post office where I am now. So I worked down on the Providence plant for about two Christmas holiday helps, they call it. So from October to January, you were down there. They hire about 50 people. So that's just helping extra hands because it's always busy in the holiday season, Christmas, Black Friday. Then they only keep one person, so I didn't get kept. It's a forward fish. So I went back to Hillside. Then the next year I applied to the Fall River Post Office, worked there for about a year. I liked it, But I talked to Jim Lamro, and he helped me get into Seekonk, which I am now. Been there for about 3 years and just turned regular, which is so like when I was in Fall River and I got into Seekonk, CCA, which is like you fill in for people who like call out sick, on vacation, you do their route, you'll do like pieces and stuff like that. So like every route's 8 hours, and if you're not on the overtime list, you can't go over 8 hours. And if you have enough mail, like on Mondays or a day off a holiday, they'll fill like a form, say I'm going over by this much, here's 45 minutes, so I'd go and do that 45 minutes. I do that, and I work every fucking Sunday. Pain in the ass, football season, couldn't play flag.
Yeah, being a big sports guy, that's a tough thing.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Yep. But then I found, after a year and a half, I finally got my own route. All walking. Brutal. I like it. My own boss by myself. I walk I probably average 8 to 10 miles a day.
That's pretty good though. Like, that's nice.
I
Like
mean,
as someone from a desk job,
I'd be losing weight here, But
so what do you eat, brother?
Bell. Yeah. I gotta figure that out. I got a gym membership. I know a guy named Jim. So but they just eat my money at Edge. Anyway, yeah. I walk 8 to 10 miles a day. Yeah, but I love it though. I love it.
I know we were talking earlier about the stereotype of mailmen and dogs. And I know you had a story that you wanted to kind of share with everyone.
Yeah, I got bit in the ass. I was like my third week on the job in Fall River, and there's this big long ass driveway, had a package, chain link fence and all that. And they have when you go up to the house and have a dog warning, look out for the dog. All right, nothing. So I get out, start walking towards the house, and I see a head pop up. Wow. I see a head pop up. Looking through the window, I see it pop down. It's like, he ain't coming out. He's inside. Must be a doggy door in the back. He comes around, full speed ahead towards me. I'm not going to outrun him, So, bites me right in the ass. So, yeah, bit in the ass. And Seekonk, same thing, but I wasn't not used to invisible fence. Because in Fall River, it's either chain link fenced or, that's it. Anyway, yeah, invisible fence. And they got a package, and they didn't have a dog card there. It's all on the scanner. And the scanners are, by GPS, and it's not accurate and all that. And going up to the front step, and no warning, nothing, just the dog. I heard something run around the corner. I looked, nothing. Right through the bush, and the Rottweiler headbutted me right in the gut. Didn't bite me, headbutted me right in the gut.
It's so funny how we were saying in an off podcast, but just on the record on the podcast. It's just funny how that stereotype between mailmen and dogs.
Yeah, if I don't now, it's awful. I used to I love dogs. Even my girlfriend, when I first went over her house, I knew she had a small dog, and the dog didn't know me. And I tell you what, a dog knows when you're a mailman. I don't know what it is, but I'll be I don't know, one of somebody's friend's house, and they got a dog and doesn't like me. But yeah, when I met Brianna, I went over her house and knew she had a dog, and scared shitless to walk in, but it's fine now.
That's so funny though. But I am really happy that you are in a good relationship, and you do have the career now, and because postal office is a really great career, and I don't think not enough people look that route or even are aware of that.
Yeah.
And it's arguably one of the more important positions in
and there's so much shit leading up to it. Not just see the mailman go by, drop the shit in the mailbox. It's so much shit that leads up to that. You walk in, obviously clock in, talk shit around the bubbler in the morning, favorite part of the day. Get the mail on the ground, so it's a big, I don't know, like a wall right here. And it's called a case, and there's about 5 rows, and there's little strips in each cell. It's about half-inch big, and that's a house. And so it's labeled, 69 Barberry, whatever, next house. And so you got to memorize. If you don't know the route, it's tough to put the mail up. And so, but if you memorize it, easy. Yeah. And, yeah.
So it's a lot of numbers, a lot of memorizing too. So you actually have to have a fairly decent memory too.
Yeah, you would think I don't by listening to me on this podcast. But, yeah. Tough watch. I'm getting better though.
No.
You're more going.
Yeah, you're more comfortable.
It's your straight face that's killing me. I'm looking at you.
Well, you got to listen. You got to listen because I don't want to talk while you're talking, because if I have to edit this, because I obviously we have the 2 camera angles for you guys that are watching.
Yeah.
I don't have to keep cutting back and forth to me laughing at something you're saying and like having to like only use one camera. So,
But
like,
that's the whole,
yeah. I mean, this is like a totally different dynamic than what you're used to too. Like this is gonna be one of my more funnier podcasts for sure. Like, cause like it's always nice to have these because like conversations are dynamic. You're gonna have a bunch of them. Like you said, everyone has an asshole and an opinion. Same shit. It's like there's different conversations you could have. So it's like I butchered that fuck out of that, but like I really don't give a fuck. Like
sorry, Brianna.
But like I kind of want to give you like a layup question, Fish. If you
said that about the last one, look at me now.
Yeah, you butchered it. Like I tried to help you out, but this one I think you'll be
Wait
fine
till your
with.
final question. I know the final question.
At least you know what it is. I completely forgot to tell you guys, but regardless, yeah, you'll be fine.
Just wait till I
You'll be
say
fine.
something.
I'll let him go first because then you'll hit the home run. It'll be fine.
Okay, I'll put it up on. Well, I'll lay it up for you. But
Like whatever. So for you, Fish, if you had to give yourself advice, like your younger self before like your career, like trying to figure it out, trying to figure out where you want to go in life, what would you tell yourself going into that?
well, first of all, good question.
That's
No, I'm just kidding. So like in high school, I wish I would have done a trade more, to be honest with you, because I feel like nowadays, I don't know how it is now, but they would like push you. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. Would never talk about like it was like Crippen would say MTTI assholes down on Route 6, act like that, you'd be over there. But that's like the way to go. I'm serious. Like all my friends that like did a trade are like straight right now and don't have no debt really, got their life figured out, good career. Yeah, that's what I would say.
So I think that'd be.
I would give myself, younger self, push for a trade. Don't listen. You don't have to go to UMass or like, and to be honest, like college, like I'd fucking party the whole time, back, younger days, not nowadays. I'm getting too old for that shit.
I feel that.
Yeah. But
I think that is good advice though, because a lot of people get sucked in, and like we went to a school that was really college prep.
Yeah.
So like, which is a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. Like, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
But like, I forget, like the senior breakfast or something, like the last day we'd all meet up and see he's going to UMass, all the shirts and shit. And I'd be like, Seekonk High, like BCC or something. Barely passed or whatever.
And that was the stereotype though.
Yeah.
Because like I honestly encourage people on the podcast, if they're younger listeners, that community college is like probably a better way to go. That
is too, yeah.
Because you can save a lot of money, especially if you want to do it that way.
Community college too, yeah.
It's hard because like the stereotype and like to like feel like you're kind of missing out, and I know some people have felt that, and like people do rag on it, like kind of like that, like the barely pass, and like it's the 13th grade in BCC.
I passed, but hey,
but it's
God
like,
for Miss Capizzo, man. Finish every quiz, finish an LC.
People like
she's not watching, man.
I mean, possibly that Neil Fisher name might grab a few people. Listen to this.
How you doing?
But like, it's true though with like community college in general. You can save money. Like I always tell people, especially if you don't know what you want to go to school for, don't just jump into a 4-year degree or a 4-year college, because those 2 years are pretty comparative to community college, and you'll save money. So I think it's a smarter route. I do want to give Bobby the chance to talk about about streaming and stuff.
Now you're gonna have me stop. I'm screwed. Yeah.
Leave him alone on this. I want you to talk about kind of what you've been doing now and like kind of like why you're doing what you're doing.
So I am streaming now. So like similar to this, like being posted on YouTube, except I do it live playing video games instead. So first off, I've been playing video games like my whole life. With Fish too, we played basketball together, have a great time, always had fun.
Just started a stream, by the way.
Yep, that'll be out soon.
Oh, yeah, but I did a tease there. Sorry, Mom.
Wait, so you guys did like a stream together?
Yeah, I had him
nice,
on. We played 2K together. That's gonna be funny once I finish editing that. But as you know, that takes 10 years because it's a bunch of unlike this, there's like a bunch. Unlike this is a bunch of like points that just there's nothing going on. So it's a lot harder for me to have to like cut it and make it seem seamless. While for this, like we're talking the whole time. But like when we're like playing 2K and we're like creating a team and stuff, like you're just sitting there like staring at a screen like nope, yep, nope, and it's just like that. No one wants to see that really, like unless they're watching it live. But yeah, I got into it because I love video games, and to be honest, I always had the thought in my head of doing it because I always thought it was fun to play a game and maybe be able to make money off of it. But I always wanted to do it. I felt like I don't know, I was scared to do it. I thought like, oh, maybe I'll get made fun of if some kids watch me from Seekonk or whatever. So that always scared me and held myself back. And my fiance Jess, she kept saying to me, you should just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And I just said, nah, I'm not going to do that. And I finally saw my student loans that I had to pay.
Nice.
I was like, wow, I need to get a second source of income somehow. I was like, all right, I think I'm going to start streaming. And I started it about, 3 years ago. I'd say 3 years ago, and I love it. It's not really so much about the money anymore. That's like why I started, but now it's really just fun. Like I love turning on the stream. I love all my whole overlay, like my starting soon screen, ending soon, be right back. My overlay while I'm live. It's just like, it's very creative. It brings out the creative side of me. I'm not very like creative. Like I don't draw. I don't build stuff. I don't like do any like woodwork or stuff like that. But when it comes to computers and being creative on a screen, that I really enjoy. And I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of people online too through streaming. Like, someone follows me, I appreciate that follow, so I go check them out and I drop them a follow. And I know a lot of people online that I probably won't ever meet in real life, but it's pretty cool to be like, man, I know this guy from Texas, and me and him are like chill. We talk all the time. Like I talk to this kid probably like every day, and I just met him because I started streaming one day. So I think that's pretty sick. And yeah, I'm trying to just like venture out. Like I have merch. Obviously I stream on Twitch. That's like the main thing. But I also like edit videos and try and post them on YouTube. Hence the thing that Fish and I did playing 2K. Like I live streamed that, and then I took the live stream and now I'm editing it so people see like the best parts of it, like the pieces that are funny and interesting. So they're not sitting through us just sitting there, not talking, just staring at a screen, because I wouldn't want to see that. So I don't think anyone else would either. And yeah, I never was like into really social media either. I was very I just wouldn't post anything. And with this now, it's not so much like my name that I'm posting about, it's my brand that I'm posting about, and that's easier for me to put out there. So I have an Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I think that's everything that I have. All the main ones. I have that all for my brand, which is Boblatron. And I really enjoy posting stuff on all those. I have a bunch of followers on all of them, which I never had followers, so I never posted when I was in like high school and middle school. So it makes me feel good, like, hey, I kind of like got the social media thing going like 10 years later when like everyone's grown up and everything, but I finally did it.
I relate to that, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's like around the same timeline for me too. I've done it for like about 3 years. This is year 4 of doing the podcast, and it's similar to that reason. I think part of the reason was like, I've said this on multiple podcasts where I lived in Texas and I lived in Georgia for a little bit, and just being in Georgia where I was in a toxic work environment. I hated being there, hated what I was doing. And I looked myself in the mirror. I was like, kind of like, what do you do that you enjoy? Like, what are you providing in value?
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything. And it kind of made me feel like shit. Like, I was like, I really am not doing anything here. And I wanted to create something a little bit more creative, like you said, and kind of tap into that. And I got really into Joe Rogan at the time. So, like, it was all, I loved the DMT stuff. Like, it was always like the conspiracy theories and shit.
He's got so many people on that podcast.
And like the fact
That's
that he's
how
able to
I
done
started
that.
believing aliens. That guy he had, I can't remember his name. The guy he had on who got abducted by aliens.
I forget which guy that was.
That was crazy.
But podcasts in general, it's like, yeah, you can go on.
Oh, and like I just said, believing in aliens and stuff like that. And like, I don't know if you heard, like in Alaska, they just shot down an unidentified object, and like how that spy balloon. It was like all news. Oh, look, there's a, but they won't.
They'll shoot that thing right down.
Right
Whatever
down.
it was.
Yep.
Not the balloon though.
Sus.
It's like weird.
But, yeah.
Very sus. And it's just like,
They're out there, man.
I want to get your
Bigfoot, too.
opinion
Bigfoot, too,
on
Real quick before we switch over to fish.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanna
yeah,
say one
yeah.
last thing in
Alright, take
regards to
your
that. The one other reason too is growing up. I played games with a lot of my friends. Fish, my friends Machado and Tanner. I played a lot of games with them, and as we got older, we got a lot more responsibilities. So now we don't play the games as much, and that was a part of my childhood that I really loved, and it was fading away. So this was a way for me to be like, trying to get back into it. Like, guys, like, let's play this. I'm going to stream it. And like, will you play with me? I don't want to play it alone. Like, as an excuse to get them to play. And it has worked. And same thing with Fish. Like, we used to play 2K, like, over sleepovers. And I thought about it, and I was like, man, I haven't played 2K with Fish in, like, jeez, I don't even know how long. Like, those are so, like, some of the best nights of my childhood. Like, I love those nights. So I asked him, I was like, you want to do it on stream? Yep. Had a great time.
And like,
so
I still play video games. Sorry to cut you off, Bob, but like, it's like therapeutic, you know? Like some people read a book, drink beer or something. I don't know.
No,
but like, I play video games and like, through all like you had a tough day at work and you sit there and play and you got the Bruins on in the background and looking, still playing. It's like therapeutic to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like another outlet, and it's like same thing with.
I ain't reading a book, that's for sure.
I've learned to dabble in more books, but I still play the video games. I still like playing Madden and stuff. I was literally playing Madden before you guys got here, to be honest. Like,
there you go.
I always see you on too. Like, I'm on like I stay hidden on like offline though.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
because like I want to work. I played with Crawford.
Did you?
Like 2 months ago. So nasty, yeah. Like, oh, hey, yo, Fish, you want to play some Madden?
Do you have the new PlayStation though?
I wish, no.
No, I still have PlayStation.
Grand.
Yeah, it's like I want just I want to buy a PC. That's what I want to do. Yeah,
That's what
That wasn't bad though. Yeah.
You buy a PC, you never have to buy a console again. It's not as expensive as it seems, and don't buy a pre-build. Build it yourself. And if you can't build it yourself, like I can't, there's one of your friends probably knows how to build a PC. If not, you can just ask me, and I'll tell you my friends who know how. I'm gonna have I had my friend build mine for me. And I'm going to have another friend build Jess's PC actually tomorrow for me. So,
like legit the whole time
great.
when you play on the PC, I thought it was like you play with the mouse.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could hook up the remote.
You can do both. And some games are better with just a mouse and keyboard. Some are better with the controller. So you can do whichever one you want.
Did you guys, not to spoil that stream, did you do it in person? Like you guys were together on the stream?
Yeah.
Cool. That'll be a good watch. I'm excited for that one.
It's better. Yeah.
Like... I'll start with Bobby on this question, and we're getting towards like the last of the podcast, but I want to talk about social media, and because like the way you both use social media is very different. So like I want to get that like contrast a little bit here. As becoming like a content creator, like what were some of the struggles that you had with like dealing with social media? I know you mentioned a little bit, but kind of go into that.
Just trying to figure out how to use how to put things in the best wording to sound like you want to sound professional. But you're not really a company. You're just yourself trying to create a brand. So you want to seem professional, but also like relatable at the same time. So it's hard to like get that mixture in there where you're not doing too much one way, too much the other. Another thing that was tough for me was like I didn't use Twitter as a kid. I used Instagram and that was it. So I know Twitter is like one of the best apps. Like everyone has Twitter, like crazy. So I had to just create a Twitter account and just learn Twitter from scratch. Like kids have been using it since it came out. I have no idea how to use Twitter at all. Now I do, but I didn't at the time. And honestly, that's like the best app that I have for my social media account. I have the most followers on that one now compared to Instagram and everything else. I have over 100 on that one, which that's pretty good for myself. I'm pretty proud of that.
I would have thought TikTok would be a good place for you to post content.
I do post content on there, but I hold myself to like a standard of it has to, like the video has to be perfect or else I don't want to post it. I know there's like the algorithms for TikTok where it's like, oh, if you post every day or like 3 times a day at these times, you'll get 1 million followers, which I should do. But
is that true?
It's kind of. I have like 60K on my personal TikTok.
Yeah, that's really good.
Wow.
I don't really post like that much anymore just because like that content, I mean, you follow that. It's like relationship stuff. So like, and it's more breakup related. And like, that's just like, if I'm not going through anything like that or pulling on anything like that, it's hard to tap into that side of stuff. And I don't know, it's a tough content post, like to post that every single day. Like I used to post like 5 to 8 times a day. That's how I got that stuff was like,
that's like
dedication towards that. So it's like, I would always recommend it. I do it to everyone on the podcast, especially content creators, is like use TikTok. And like my piece of advice in terms of like the craft too, of getting so focused on the video editing and making it perfect, you just got to post it. Like, it's hard to get over that hump, but like I really don't care how this looks like onto people. Like it's just doing it over and over. Yeah. And then like, I think it was Mr.
How were you
Beast.
your first podcast? Are you like,
I was trash. I mean,
me, but
No. The way that I was probably, I'll tell you the full story off the podcast, but like that first podcast with Eric Lazito wasn't the first actual podcast I created. We did one before with one microphone. Sounded like absolute dog water.
Microphone.
Trash. It was trash. Like Eric was too quiet. I was too loud because like it was in front of me.
Yeah.
And he was just a soft spoken.
Like having in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like soft spoken. Kind of similar to like your tones, like very similar. Yeah. And like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's like,
I'm surprised, man. I thought,
well, once you're more,
once I get going.
you're fine. You're just
quiet,
a little,
or you're going.
Yeah, it's one or the other. But like Eric's the same way. When he's not talking about something like when he's talking about like his personal stuff, a little bit more quiet. When he's talking about his like about weed stuff, like he was way more into it. That's his passion. That's what he does. But that podcast, I had to redo it. So that second time around, we blew through it was so technically rehearsed. So we blew through it in 30 minutes. And that second half that's an actual tough listen. Like the fact that that's like one of my most listened to podcasts, like still like pissing me off, but it's the first one. So it's to be expected.
Yeah.
But same thing is like, I had to learn how to be a good host. I had to learn how to like navigate with different guests.
Great, man.
I mean, I appreciate that because I mean, it took me a long time to figure out this and like how to adapt to different guests, how to adapt to two guests, how to adapt and make people feel comfortable and ask the right questions to get them involved in the conversation. So like, I don't want you to like sit there and be all nervous and like scared. Like obviously you're going to be nervous in a podcast, but like trying to give you questions that will make you feel a little bit warmed up, talking about sports, more lighthearted stuff. And like, having that dynamic to talk a little bit more, to talk a little bit less, to figure it out.
Beer before I came over, fucking loosen me up a little bit.
I've had that work the opposite way too, though. So like I had someone drink and like they didn't want to talk, like it shut them down.
Well,
and, like,
I'm not talking about like hammered, but like
no, it wasn't like they weren't hammered. They still like I thought the drinking would help them go, and it completely had the opposite. Yeah, it had the opposite, and I don't know. Yeah. It's the camera, it's the lights, it's like all that stuff. Like the way you are right now versus the beginning of the podcast, two different people. Like it's funny, and I knew that's how it always goes. So like it's to be expected. But on your perspective with social media, like coming from someone who doesn't like create content, like how do you view social media? How do you use social media?
Entertainment. That's how I get my news. Like I said earlier, I don't know if I said it earlier, honestly. But anyway, yeah, that's how I get my news. Like, I don't know, like apps like Channel 12, weather.
Just don't care to use their post because you don't really share your stuff. That's why I was really like excited to get you on the podcast. Like
I'm not
more talking
like
that.
Yeah, picture guy. So like I don't take many pictures. Like live it all in the moment. Like if you remember, LeBron took the video. I mean the video broke the record for the most points scored, and everyone's with the camera out. And I'll remember it. I won't take a picture of it. Or like all pictures of myself. To be honest with you, I'm not a big fan. I don't know why. It's just always been like that. So that's why I don't really post that much. No,
I think it's a good point. And I like to have people who don't do the content stuff talk about that stuff.
I'll follow everything, all the news on there, like sports, like on the NBA trade deadline was like a couple days ago.
Shit went crazy.
Twitter, fucking refresh. Everything's going down and stuff like that while I was at work. But yeah, I don't post. I tweet once in a while, but
Yeah, I scroll Twitter. Like, I don't really use Twitter like that. Like, here and there, it's just like, I'm a heavy TikTok guy. I hate to admit it, but I am.
Like, I'll post with my girlfriend and stuff. Like, cute little couple pic or something.
Yeah, you gotta do it, though.
Soft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fish getting soft. You heard it here first.
I thought I posted one last year around Christmas time, like the family all together and stuff like that. But I ain't doing selfies and that bullshit, Please.
I would say this is like you putting yourself out there. It's like this is like the furthest it goes for you, like being on a podcast. Like I honestly never thought that you'd actually want to do it.
I tell you what. When I was listening to you when Jeff was on, and you said, "Oh, Bob's on the list," and I remember I saw you at CVS, and I was like, "I'll get on." I ain't going on.
I mean, people say that all the time. I usually don't take it too seriously.
But then I heard you say, "Oh, Bob's on us." Oh, Bob, help me out here, because it was just me. It'll be a train wreck. I don't think it'd be a train wreck once you get me going. Like I said.
I mean, I think the dynamic between you guys two like works really well, and like you guys have been friends for a long time. So like, because that was the same thing with Isaac. Isaac was like really uncomfortable. I think it was episode 22 with Ankit. And
Isaac,
sure. He was very nervous to do that, but like having Ankit there was like, Yeah.
Like, I even asked like Matt. Sorry, I keep cutting you off, but
You're good. I told you to do it.
I did. You did. Good point. When you asked me originally, I was like, I don't know. I talked with Matt. I was like, you should come on with me. Then you had him here. I was like, what the fuck, Matt? That could have been my time to shine. But yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're hearing
that.
I
don't
think
know why I'm like that, because like when I'm outside and the camera's not on, I'm not nervous at all. Like I'll talk to anybody. I don't know, talk to anybody. I don't like going up to somebody at the bar. What's going on? But, like I'll
people
keep
you
the
know,
conversation going. Yeah, you know. But
I think
don't know.
it's just cool to see you in this likes. Like you're not very active on social media like that. You don't, like you said, you're not really a poster like that. So to kind of get you on a podcast and people will listen, they're gonna see your name and be like, oh, what is Fish talking about? Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting.
I'm looking at that camera right now.
Obviously,
scumbags judging me.
Bobby's got the content, so like obviously he's gonna have people for that. So like people are gonna see your name and like, oh, what is Fish talking about? So it's gonna draw that interest.
Beginning, man. Let me tell you.
I think it was better than you think. Like I think you did a better job than. I was worried for you, but I think you did a better job.
Man, I was.
You were kind of making me nervous there because you were getting really nervous. I'm like, I hope you got this. You did good.
You're looking right
I
at.
could feel it. I was like, can I help him?
Bob, help me out here.
Tension over there.
Oh man,
you got through it, but I could feel it.
Tough watch, but yeah, I got better. Like I just, I don't like talking about myself, to be honest with you. I do, but I don't. At the same time, it's not like I don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
No, no, I get you. I get you. No, I think admitting that is like
I'm the kind of person, like helping people out. I like helping people out, all that. Like now myself comes last, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I've been in that position. I mean, like even doing like the football stuff, like setting that up, like I don't care to be one scoring the touchdowns. Like even though I'll play the quarterback, but like I didn't start doing that. I didn't care to do that really. I just like getting everyone together and like having a good time with people.
Yeah, like Spumoni's or something that Friday night.
Even like doing this, like
Thursday night.
Like just getting us together, having the conversation, shooting the shit, like just like having fun. Like that's part of the reason. Like the content's one thing. It's kind of like what you said. It was like first kind of like you wanted the money, but it became more of like a passion and a joy thing. And same with the podcast. Like I wanted something to like give me a little bit more purpose and like to get you guys on, talk about your life a little bit.
Seriously, I thought about a podcast, not by myself though, but like Matt Gallup and Brady, I've always talked about like starting podcasts and stuff like that, and like shoot the shit, all that, just like laughing and stuff. But I don't know, never worked out. But hopefully down the road,
I think if you guys did something like, especially like where you're more comfortable with sports, like obviously like my content is a little more serious, so like it's obviously it's
like I didn't know I was walking into it.
Yeah, like
all these podcasts I listen to, get serious. I'm a serious guy, but like not like.
You like to have fun too, like and I think you really showcase that in this podcast though. Is like this is who you are, and I think that's important to show. Is like it doesn't like I'm a pretty serious person with a lot of stuff. So like I mean, people will see it in the podcast, and like I go on my friends' podcasts who are more comedic based. Yeah. And then if you listen to those, you get to see that side of me. Mm-hmm. Like obviously, I'm on this podcast. I'm talking a little bit more mental health, your life, like shit like that.
Like I used to listen to Joe Rogan, but I stopped listening because it got too serious. So I like. Funny, not like he was funny, but like, I feel like he's running out of people to bring on his podcast. Cause like, who has not been on his podcast? Like, I just listened to Dave Portnoy because I love Barstool. I forget who the other guy was he had on, but yeah, well, I listen to comedian podcasts like Bobby Lee and Andrew Schultz.
Mm-hmm. I love Andrew Schultz. Like, I listen to Flagrant a lot.
Yeah,
that's a good podcast.
But I listen like Pardon My Take. I listen to your podcast. Obviously,
which I appreciate. Yeah,
that's right. Busting with the boys, Taylor, the big football guys.
Yep.
Taylor on Will Compton. Yeah, I got a lot. But Logan Paul too. I hated him.
Yeah, he's grown more on me.
Big time.
Yeah. I think it's the growth. I mean, as you grow in life.
Paul, I don't mind him either.
Yeah, I mean, I like him as the boxer. I like him bringing attention to boxing. I think it's good for boxing.
How they started off, like I don't know, was it Disney Channel or something?
Yeah, it was YouTube.
You probably can't handle
it was a little both. Yeah. I mean, you can kind of
like Fish.
Yeah.
I think they started on Vine. Did they start on Vine?
Yeah, it was Vine, YouTube, and then Disney.
Yeah. Speaking of Vine, do you think TikTok's gonna get banned? Why did Vine?
Realistically,
was
Vine just failed. Like it just like over time, like it's just
people stopped using. I don't remember.
I think I forget why it fell off. I think it was funding, possibly. I can't really recall.
They sold that company to Twitter. So actually, like Elon Musk owns that right
He
now.
joked
So
about that.
If TikTok goes down, Elon Musk's gonna make bank.
The problem with that is like you have to fix all. It's been years with technology, and like technology's so fucking.
What did you just say?
You don't get it?
No, he owns Twitter.
He bought Vine and just renamed it
Twitter owns Vine.
Twitter bought Vine years ago and then shut it down.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Elon Musk bought Twitter, so he owns the rights to Vine, so he could bring it back if he wanted to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. But I think.
What?
I think TikTok probably should be banned. I personally love it. I think it's the best social media app out there right now. It's addicting, but it's also like just like the amount of creativity that goes in the app that people can get famous and stuff like that. I think it's a positive thing. Obviously, there's negatives to social media. We don't need to talk about that. Like, this is obvious, but probably the control aspect with the China stuff. Like, there's some stuff there. It's pretty sketchy. So it's like
a fucking balloon, like I was saying.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
We are getting towards like the end of the podcast. Before I ask my last question to you guys, I do
Forget about it.
for this part. Just your quick Super Bowl predictions.
Oh, I got the Eagles.
Eagles?
I don't know about Mahomes. Like.
Eagles.
Yeah, I'm Eagles
Yeah,
too.
I
Obviously,
pray.
this episode will drop after the Super Bowl, so I would hope both teams lose. To be honest, I hate the Eagles, and I am not a Pat Mahomes guy. So like, but I can appreciate greatness. So like, I just don't want Mahomes to ever get near Brady. That's like the selfish Patriot fan in me. But
Sam.
yeah. And the Eagles
I like the
obviously
Chiefs.
just
I don't like the fact that they say like Tom Brady won 5 Super Bowls, Joe Montana won 4, and they were like, oh no, Joe Montana is still the greatest quarterback of all time. Tom Brady has 7 now, and Patrick Mahomes still only has 1. Maybe we'll have 2. And they're like, oh, he's already better than Brady.
Who
It's
did
like,
Brady lose to in the Super Bowl twice?
bro. You're a
Yep.
Patriots fan for like a week, so like I don't know.
Who were at the Gillette Stadium?
We don't know who you're a fan of.
Good point. Giants.
You sure?
Yeah.
You
that's
seems
why-
like you
I don't know why
flip
I said
flop.
the Eagles. You know,
As soon as the Giants start making the playoffs
no.
again, all of a sudden Giants posts coming everywhere. Like,
what am I going to post about when they're 4-13?
I'm glad you didn't post.
Saquon maybe coming off IR.
Super Bowl bound next year, baby.
I mean, Daboll is a good coach. Coach of the year.
Yeah.
Positive stuff going
Got
on.
to figure out the receiver core though. Golly, man.
Yeah, that was a huge disappointment.
Jesus.
Rough.
Yeah.
Tough watch. Tough watch. Like a
I was rooting for the
podcast.
Giants though this year. I liked the way they played football. Like I like Daniel Jones is getting like back in the groove and shit. Like it was.
Vanilla Vic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but he's serviceable. He's got potential, and like I think with the right coach, like there's like and get some receivers, like you said. There's some if sign Saquon. Hopefully, I mean he's gonna want a lot of money, but hopefully he stays.
I don't want. Yeah. It's tough, man. You can replace a running back like that, quick.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah,
I would resign him, but not like how
but
Zeke got signed.
I was gonna say that's the part where it becomes dangerous. You pay him the money,
He
you
was
get.
like, first time he played a full year this year since like his rookie year.
That's why I don't know if they'll pay him.
Man,
That's a tough one.
It's tough.
Daniel Jones. I heard on the radio like he's looking for like 30 to 35 million a year. I don't know,
That's
pay him now.
crazy.
He's not worth it, but the way the contracts are,
How he played this year, and he had
They're good.
how he had receivers. He had no receivers. How he played.
True.
I don't know. It'll be interesting going into next year with football wise, but
Yeah.
well, looking forward to the game on Sunday, and obviously you guys will listen to this on Monday, so we'll see who's the winner at that point. But
Go Chiefs.
switching gears for the last question, as I asked this question to everyone, I'll let I think I said I'll let you go
Yeah, go
first,
ahead.
and then Bobby can jump in. What is your advice for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
My advice would be, who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? Doesn't matter. It's only what you want inside. If people are judging you, who cares? It's what you want.
I love that. I love straight to the point. I like that.
I couldn't figure out how to finish that one. But
You can go, Bobby. You can go in a little more detail, and then take this away with us.
Yeah, I feel like, you shouldn't be afraid of what other people think of what you want to do. If you think that you can do something and excel at it, don't worry about anyone else. Just go ahead and do it, because if you really care about it, you're going to do great, and then it's going to make you a whole lot happier. You'll be successful, and it creates a whole bunch of other avenues for you. So, yeah, definitely don't let anyone get in your way, and just anything that you think that you really like, just grind. Keep grinding it. There's going to be failures, setbacks, all that stuff, but just come back, get better, and just keep doing it. Keep grinding, because it's worth it.
Thank you for saving this podcast, Bobby. I'm kidding. I think it was really great to have you guys both on this podcast.
Yeah,
like it's nice to actually have a podcast where I'm laughing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like I usually am like obviously really serious on the podcast, but like it's nice to have like a change of pace and like have a little bit of both. Like have you talking a little bit more serious about yourself, Bobby talking about the content creating, which we can relate on. You try, and like I think
I don't understand why I'm like that. Like,
I mean, it is difficult to talk about that stuff. It's personal, like, and you're not a very public person with your personal life.
Correct.
So this is like very out of your comfort zone, at least that part. So, but obviously, I appreciate you doing it for the
people
podcast.
that's around me know like what's going on. Like I'm not.
Well,
it doesn't bother me like my friends, but like you said, like cameras on,
and you know that people will watch. So there is that probably subconsciously or consciously, however you're perceiving it. So, but I mean, I think it was nice for you to come on and show this side of you too, where you can have that serious talk, have that talk about, especially your personal life. And I think people who might be afraid to do the podcast can see you do it. And like Fish has done it. Like I've had other people on the podcast who are nervous about doing it and then did it. And I think it's a fun experience just to experience it, even if you don't ever want to do it again.
That's
I think
another
it's
reason
cool.
I wanted to come on too, because you kept saying like I had people on who were nervous but did it and liked it. Like I liked it, you know.
Yeah, and I think
you get me going, you know?
Exactly, and then maybe you want to do a sports one with other people, and like I think that would be more up your alley or something comedic, and just to see the equipment, the lights, the camera, to see what goes into the process, and be a guest on one. Who knows? Whatever you want to do in the future might be an option for you, or getting into streaming and doing it that way too.
Like, I talked about that. Yeah,
I've even thought about it too. There's so many avenues with it. But
Definitely.
let's wrap up this and we can talk off the podcast. Sorry for you guys listening, but like
tough watch, ladies and gentlemen.
It wasn't a tough watch. I thought it was a really great podcast. Yeah, I thought it was a good podcast.
Scumbags.
Thanks. Okay, I appreciate you both for being on the podcast though, and just like sharing about your life story and talking about what you do. I really do appreciate that. For you guys, if you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, search on YouTube, The Carroll Connection, or at Jared M. Carroll. Or if you want to be a guest on the podcast, reach out on Instagram at The Carroll Connection or at Jared M. Carroll, and we can set that up. But till next time, guys, peace.